Hi, this is Iris from Cashmere Goat Yarn in Camden, Maine. I'm reporting to you from my home office today, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the Carp-Beth sweater by Kate Davies. For our January knit along, we are all knitting Carbeth, the Carbeth designs. There are 4 of them. But if you've chosen the Carp-Beth, this video might be for you. Today I'm going to be talking specifically about the carp scale pattern, which is on the sleeves of this sweater and at the yoke. And so one of the kind of interesting / tricky things about this pattern, the Carp-Beth, is that you are at the same time you are performing increases for your sleeve, like you can see this is growing longer, you are also needing to maintain this pattern of the carp scale. And I personally found it a little bit had to do some mental gymnastics to kind of work my way through the thinking. So I wanted to share what helped me and how I conceptualize doing this, both in staying organized and understanding what the language of the pattern means with the chart that we are given, using a little bit of an analogy. So if that all sounds like your cup of tea, great, stay tuned. Again, this is for the Carp-Beth sweater. It is not for just the general Carbeth. It's not for the Carbeth Cardigan. It is not for the Carbeth Swan Dance, just the Carp-Beth. So we'll get right into it now. So you might be wondering why I'm using this analogy, the Heart-Beth, as I'm calling it, instead of showing you the chart that exists in the Carp-Beth pattern by Kate Davies. And that is because I want to respect Kate's intellectual property. This is her original design, the carp scale pattern. The chart that you have in the Carp-Beth pattern is something that she worked very hard on. So I'm going to build this bridge and walk you through it. What I would suggest is that you grab your copy of the Carp-Beth pattern and open it up to the chart page. I can't remember which page number that's on, but you'll know it. That way you can be looking at your actual carp scale chart as I'm giving you this analogy with the Heart-Beth. So I think it'll make more sense to you. So if you need to, go ahead and pause the video, grab your pattern. Also, I'd grab Post-it notes. I'm a huge fan of Post-it notes. You'll see that in this video. They figure big here. So if you're a Post-it note lover, awesome. Grab those, maybe a pencil too. Let's get oriented to our analogy. So if you're looking at your carp chart, you will see something that looks like this rectangle here. Instead of the hearts on your chart, you'll see a bunch of twist symbols, and they come in 2 different colors. In my chart, I've got these hearts standing in for, just my made up pattern. This is obviously not the carp scale pattern. It looks very different from your carp scale chart. This is a made up stitch pattern. This heart, I'm just using it because it's visual. And the other thing that it does is you can see the hearts go across 2 stitches in my chart, and that mimics the 2-stitch pattern of a twist. So all of the twists in the carp scale pattern are over 2 stitches. When you do a right twist, 2 stitches are involved. When you do a left twist, 2 stitches also involved. So these hearts just standing in as placeholders so we can talk through this conceptually. The other thing that you'll see is on my Heart-Beth, I've got this center rectangle outlined in green. And on your carp scale chart, that is outlined in pink. So in your pattern on page, I believe, page 3, when Kate talks about keeping the pattern correct, you will see her refer to the part of the chart that's outlined in pink. And just so for our analogy purposes, my Heart-Beth chart is outlined in green, but that's standing in for the pink line on the real carp chart pattern. So we talked about the fact that Post-its would figure very big in this video. Here we are already looking at Post-its. I have blocked out the rest of the chart, and I'm only looking right now at what is inside the green box. I've also numbered my rounds going vertically. On your carp chart, this is because, and so I'm mimicking what you're doing on your carp chart, where the instructions tell you that for your first few rounds, you are just going to be working inside the pink box on the carp chart. So on mine, I'm working the first few rounds until I get to my first increase. I am simply repeating my 10 stitch chart in the Carp-Beth. And in your carp, you are simply going to be repeating all the way around your sleeve what is inside the pink box on your carp chart. I also, for me, like to have a Post-it handy where I align it with what round I am on in my repeats. So if I've completed round 1, I'm going to move my Post-it right up to round 2. If I've completed round 2, I'm going to pop it right up to round 3. And that way, just at a visual glance, I can look down and see like, oh yeah, I'm knitting 4 plain, then over the next 2 stitches performing my pretend heart stitch pattern, then knitting 4, all the way around, repeating that sequencing. So that's just me, and I will just pause to say that anything that I'm showing you here about how I think about organization is definitely not how you have to do it. You may have plenty of fantastic systems. This just happens to work for my brain, and I felt like it would be at least worthwhile to talk you through my thinking around what worked for me. And again, you may be using Knit Companion, which is a great digital app that you can use to track your work. You might have a whole other system. Great. If so, use it. Great. No pressure to use this one. I just thought it might be helpful for some folks to see what I do. Oh my gosh, here she comes with more Post-its at me. Yep, I know. So I also need to, in this sleeve pattern, I need to find a way to track and negotiate my heart chart, which is over here. And it will be your carp chart with your increase sequence. Now, depending on your size that you're making in the Carp-Beth, you will be told on what round you will be performing your increases. So in my little Heart-Beth analogy, I'm pretending that my increases are going to happen on round 5. So what this is going to look like is as I'm, completing my little things, I'm going to like, okay, I've done 1, done 2, done 3, done 4. Uh-oh, here we are on 5. This is an increase round for myself. So that's here. So on this round, I'm going to be adding a stitch at the beginning of the round and adding a stitch at the end of the round for 2 stitches increased. And so after I increase, I'm actually going to move these little Post-its over 1. And so now that indicates to me that I have got 2 more stitches. So I've got 1 stitch at the beginning of the round that I've increased, then I go happily along repeating the center green, or in your case, the center pink. Just gonna repeat what I've been doing, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At the end of the round, I have 1 more stitch that I have added. Okay, pause for a quick story. When I was first figuring out my Carp-Beth sleeve, I was very silly, and I thought that when I moved my Post-it out because of my increased 2 stitches, in my silly brain, that translated for me into, I thought all of a sudden instead of whatever it is, in my carp, we'll say in my Heart-Beth, it will be 10 stitches involved here, plus 1 equals 12. So what I did is all of a sudden I got way off on my carp scale pattern because I was adding 2 stitches to every single one of these repeats. Wrong, worked out terribly, took it out like more than once. So I'm trying to just make sure that you know that when you're doing your increase, that is simply 1 stitch on either side, on either end, at the beginning of your round, at the very end of the round. We're taking a look at my Carp-Beth sleeve right now because I wanted to show you something else. This is a suggestion that Kate makes in the pattern. She talks about placing a pair of stitch markers after you've worked that first increase to just kind of like in your mind delineate, okay, here's my 2 that I've added, and then I'm going to continue with my repeats all the way around. So I just wanted to show you that that's a handy technique too, and as you then continue to increase, Of course, you're going to be adding more stitches in between these markers that will essentially be growing the underside of your sleeve. And I'm just pulling out my sleeve right here. Growing the underside of your sleeve a little bit at a time. So you can see the carp scale pattern. It's not perfect right here. That's because I've increased and I don't have enough stitches to create the scale in the middle part. And we'll talk about that a little bit in just one second. In the last little clip, I referenced the fact that when you're starting to establish and add more stitches at the underside of your carp sleeve, you won't be able to complete the pattern right away because you don't have enough stitches to work with under there. And I wanted to draw your attention to when you're looking at your carp scale pattern and you've moved your little post-it notes out and you're only seeing half of a twist symbol, or in my case, half of a heart symbol. I can't do anything with my broken heart, right? I can't make a whole heart when I just am seeing this half. So there's no way I can perform my pretend heart stitch if I'm just seeing half of a heart. Same thing with your twist. If you're just seeing half of a twist showing, you know, that you've increased one and you can see that you have a partial twist, all you're gonna do there is knit them. And in the pattern, this is described as if it's just bisected, if the twist symbol is bisected, then you can't work the twist. But if the whole twist symbol is incorporated, then you can work the twist. So in mine, this heart is bisected, AKA broken, so I can't work a whole heart stitch. I have to wait until I keep increasing and eventually my heart looks like this, a whole heart. I can do something with it. It's great. Everybody feels the love with the heart. And we are all set. So same thing with the carp pattern. If you see partial twist, you can't do anything but knit it. If you see the full twist, you are going to perform the twist. This carp scale pattern is actually so fun to learn. And at this point, I definitely am at a place where I'm starting my second sleeve, where I have been able to really actually read my work in a way that I for sure wasn't able to at the beginning. Just to reassure you, you'll get it too. Just give yourself some time, give yourself some grace to get used to it. And I think you'll really enjoy it. And boy, is it beautiful in person. Thanks so much for watching this tutorial. Do let me know if this was helpful for you. If you have a comment, please leave it. Don't forget to like the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel with Cashmere Goat. You can also visit us online at cashmeregoatyarn.com. Thanks so much for watching. Happy carp making.